One of the biggest things that's holding back mobile robotics right now is battery life. And one company here just released something that has the potential to revolutionize the industry. Check this out. It is the world's first humanoid robot that can do autonomous battery swapping. So this is a humanoid robot here. It can grab its own battery pack out by itself, bring it over to a charging station, plug that back in, and then grab itself a new battery pack. And today, let's talk about why that's so special for robotics and humanoid robotics in particular, and what that might mean for automations moving forward in the future. I'm Brogan Pratt, and for over 10 years now, I've been teaching robotics design technology to students. I've seen firsthand how single inventions and seemingly simple designs can end up revolutionizing industries, even in early forms. Because while this might look a little rough at the beginning, this is the first time it's ever been done, and it already looks surprisingly smooth, despite this being a very first project, or very first prototype, effectively. So let's talk more about this, and let's see that again, and let's chat a little bit about why this is so special in and of itself. One of the big issues with autonomous robots is that they are autonomous and you have to find ways of charging things. So robots in the past have had like inductive coils that they can drive over to be able to charge them, kind of similar to your wireless charging on your phone that you use. You have that Q pad in the back, those copper coils that are able to charge things wirelessly. Or Tesla has one of those where they have a wireless charging pad that you can drive into your house and it will inductively charge the car. The problem is a lot of those systems are really rather inefficient. So some current solutions on the market right now are things like manual battery swaps. They have to bring it to a person to be able to manually swap these batteries. That reduces your uptime. Another one is some sort of docking, like your robot vacuum might have at home, where your robot vacuum comes back to dock and then it sits and charges. The problem with the manual swaps is that now you have to hire someone to be able to swap these batteries properly. And with the charging or docking, now you have a lot of lost uptime, in that robot is now sitting at that charging station waiting before it's moving up. So having that autonomous ability for it to hot swap its own battery is monumental, because now you can have that charging station by itself and not have to have a human being to physically swap that battery out. And you end up getting a lot of the best of both worlds. You may have also seen some robots in the past with like a leash or a cord effectively that's just kind of hanging from their back so that they're constantly powered. Again, that means they're not truly autonomous. So you have the ability here with this hot swappable battery to truly have an autonomous robot. It starts talking about this being a hot swappable or autonomous battery. So what exactly is hot swappable? Your standard USB drives are hot swappable. You can plug them in and you can unplug them while they're powered and on. We can actually see from this UBTECH or UBTECH that it has two different battery slots on it. So it actually has two sources of power that it can constantly switch out. And hot swappable means that the device can stay on and running. You've seen this with jump drives. Now, typically a non-hot swappable would be like a hard drive on your computer or inside your Mac laptop. You might have an SSD inside there where you can't actually just take that thing out and then pop it right back in right away. That would be a non-hot swappable device. And the reason that hot swappable is good is that it allows the device to stay on without having to shut it down. This means that that robot is back online in seconds rather than in hours, like if it had to wait for a new battery. And as well as to have to wait for that robot to cycle itself back up, it means it can remember what its previous state was a lot easier, because it can just come charge and then go return to its current work. It doesn't have to remember any of those states. And one of the big things here is that this is a hot swappable humanoid robot. And with factories, you're seeing this kind of debate starting up of, is it better to have a purpose-built robot or is it better to have a autonomous hot swappable or humanoid robot? In my opinion, I think humanoid robots are kind of the way of the future. And the reason I say that is because the world is built for humans. And if we are going to make robots that are purpose-built for the factory floor, the problem is now you need to redesign the space. But with humanoid robots, you don't have to redesign the space because the space is already being designed for humans, which is one of the big reasons as to why humanoid robots can really start changing the way we do automation and why we want to build robots that look like humans, because the world is built for humans. And the most purpose-built robot that you can build for that space that will be most adaptable to as many spaces as possible is a space that is built for robots. So one of the big things this might change potentially is factory floors, which is why, of course, you see it being inside of a factory floor here. With potential 24/7 uptime, now that assumes there's no bugs or anything like that, is you could have 3 full shifts of these robots running full time. Right now, in order to have humans running on these factories, you need to have 3 8-hour shifts. But having a robot allows you to set up 24/7. And that is a huge increase in factory uptime. Right now, factories are run for 12, 14 hours, but you could almost double the output time in having these robots sit and work through these factory points. And one of the nice things about autonomous robots here is they can really remove some of those dull and mundane tasks that humans are kind of being presently forced to work through in those autonomous tasks. You get those repetitive strain injuries. They can actually take a lot of these efforts off of people. Another great thing about autonomous robots, and something like this might have uptime, is things like nuclear reactors and how you might deal with electricity being generated in a nuclear power plant. One of the things that's really dangerous about being a nuclear power plant is being in the core itself. And there's lots of evidence of scientists, when they're first creating nuclear reactors, accidentally opening up the shielding from around the reactor, getting flashed with radiation for like half of a second, and then dying from cancers because of that. So it's a really dangerous environment for human beings to be into. So by having a nuclear reactor that's running, and if it's running 24 hours a day to be able to power homes, being able to have an autonomous robot that has pure uptime to be able to go into the core with some proper shielding around its electronics, because radiation messes with electronics, you could have a lot safer environment for human beings to be walking around in. And of course, you can't afford to have a robot lose any sort of power during this really critical uptime if you're inside a nuclear core. So being able to have that hot swappable always on is a really huge benefit, especially when you're working in really dangerous environments. It could also be for things like disaster relief, where you have, like we can think of those earthquakes in Turkey about 7 or 8 years ago now, somewhere around there. Maybe it was only 3 or 4 years ago. But you have search and rescue crews being able to run, and they can only run for so many hours a day, because human beings, we can't run 24/7, right? We're not robots. We're not machines. We need to sleep. We need to eat. We need to interact and have relationships with people. But when it comes to running a search and rescue mission, you could realistically have autonomous robots pulling out piles of rubble and things, so they got 24/7 around the clock, and it could really help speed up a lot of these intervention efforts, especially with like something like a fire and safety. But I'm curious what your thoughts are about hot swappable robots, and whether you think that a robot, even though it's in its early stages of being a hot swap battery, how do you think this is going to change the environment for autonomous robots, as well as the environment for the factory floor, where we start seeing these more in human environments? I think it's going to be really interesting to see just where this technology goes. In my opinion, one of the interesting things about this is it's going to shift the conversation from how long can a robot work to just a robot just does its work. If you found value in this quick little breakdown about hot swappable batteries and how this might change humanoid robotics, leave a like and consider subscribing down below. It really is a huge help to the channel. And thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.